In case you missed the last episode of Off the Rails, the gang took a perfectly reasonable NAB recap and turned it into a wandering group therapy session for AV people who have strong opinions about Black Magic, Bird Dog, NDI, Dante AVH, Rode, Sony camera metadata, and a terrifying mobile studio cart that looks like Johnny Five got into corporate video production. There was also a Biamp 50th anniversary recap, an electric Hummer side quest, anechoic chamber weirdness, Clear One boxes being reborn with new stickers, and enough production AV convergence talk to make your campus network team start updating their resumes. While you were off pretending to be productive, we were over here decoding NAB announcements, mocking $23,000 robot things, and asking the hard questions like, does it drive itself? And is there a tiny engineer living inside it? If you didn't listen, you are now technically behind on AV, AI, NDI, Dante, and wheeled studio furniture. Shameful, embarrassing, professionally reckless. Go listen to what you missed at avsuperfriends.com before the robots find out you're unprepared.
This is AV Super Friends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV Super Friends. For May 8, 2026, it's the best sounding and the fourth most paid advertisements masquerading as content-laden podcast in higher ed. This is the AV Super Friends Off the Rails, episode number 137. That's a lot of them. Broadcasting live from an undisclosed equipment closet where the cable management is theoretical, the firmware updates are pending, and the only thing louder than the cooling fans is the collective sigh of every technician ever asked, can't you just make that work real quick? From the land of blinking lights, mystery adapters, abandoned documentation, and that one touch panel that absolutely knows what it did, we're pushing signal through the noise, one questionable workaround at the time. I'm Chris Decker, and you're tuned in for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure with the AV Super Friends. And let's say hello to that panel. I moved all my buttons around with this one. Oh, let me cue up the rest of these too. Jeez, they're all different.
Just get them ready. Come on.
Well, I shoved that cold open up front and everything else moved over. So, yeah. All right.
Paying the price. Yep.
That's what happens. Our first panelist leads emergency reassurance efforts while quietly asking 3 different teams if we use that online vendor. He's a coordinator of cloud vendor management from Kansas City. Say hello to Mr. Jamie Reinhardt.
I just move the clouds around, and every now and then, tornado.
Cloudstorm. Our next panelist celebrates every major software as a service outage by walking past the on-prem rack and whispering, "You beautiful disaster." He's a director of Cloud Breach Schadenfreude from Corvallis, Oregon. Say hello to Mr. Mark Kolowazinski.
One day, the old iron shall rise from the ashes.
That day is today.
Our
next panelist, or yesterday, earlier this week. Our next panelist digs through 6-year-old procurement forms to find the one checkbox where the vendor promised this exact thing could never happen. He's an assistant dean of vendor security questionnaire archaeology from Greensboro, North Carolina. Say hello to Mr. Larry Darling.
Yep, and I asked it in a Teams channel, and I've had Copilot looking for it for the past week.
Good luck finding anything in Teams.
It's like, where is it? It's right there. It's
Don't
right
trust Copilot.
And our final panelist spends his days planning a clean, orderly move to a completely different platform that will definitely never, ever have problems of its own. He's our executive vice president for emergency service migration from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Say hello to Mr. Justin Rexing.
So if my plan is to just move it to the cloud, do I just call Jamie?
Yeah.
He leads the emergency reassurance efforts, so he can just reassure me that shit's being handled.
Don't worry, I'll go from one cloud to the other. We're good.
It's all fine.
That's an easy job. I'll take that.
Put it in the cloud. Which one? Yes, one of them.
All of it.
The dark one. The deep, dark cloud.
The dark cloud. So
cloud
on today's show, we're going to discuss media production studios and a listener email about microphones and lecterns. But first, little bit of housekeeping. So if you're listening, this is a recorded MP3, congratulations. This file exists locally, which already makes it more reliable than whatever enterprise cloud platform your campus is currently wishing wasn't mission critical. We stream live on Fridays at about 3:15 Eastern, 12:15 Pacific, or whenever Mark successfully authenticates through 6 browser redirects and a terms of service update. You can join us for that live on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you can't join us live, you can follow AV Super Friends on the socials, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Blue Sky. That way, when the next global outage turns your carefully designed workflow into a spinning icon and a later followed apology banner, you can at least have something to read while your help desk explains that no, rebooting the room PC will not fix the data centers scattered all over Northern Virginia. Please share this show with your friends, colleagues, vendors, enemies, cloud architects, status page enthusiasts, and anyone who's ever said it's hosted so we don't have to worry about it anymore, which is everybody. If you'd like to support the show, hit the donation link in the show notes or at the top of the website there. Your contributions help to keep us bringing you the honest higher ed AV content without requiring a monthly seat license, compliant review, or a 48-hour incident postmortem written exclusively in passive voice.
In Markdown.
No. And thanks for your support. We couldn't do this without you. Every time Mark says Markdown, it's just text.
I'm going to start. I was about to say.
It's just text with no format.
I was about to say. Every show, he says Markdown now.
It's all it is now.
I do like
just surrounded by Markdown.
Take a shot every time.
I don't even know where it's at anymore. Everything's one reference Markdown file.
Just a text file.
Yes.
With no formatting. All right. And now, make sure we're correct in our run of show here. Yep, you've waited for it all week. It's time for the news, which is a big deal this week. Yeah. So we've got 2 news stories. We had a separate news story planned until yesterday.
Then the news broke.
Then the news broke.
Yeah. So did everything
Stupid
else.
news ruined all of it.
So unlike every other show, podcast, whatever, who's going to cover this in like 2 weeks, we're covering it today while it's happening. Deal with it.
Is it still happening?
No, it's done now.
Is it? It was done a few days ago, Larry.
We'll come back to that comment.
Yeah. What is it? What the hell happened?
The link we're using, because Jamie literally made these people leave the building they were in, comes from KCUR, comes from NPR in Kansas City there, who used to be on the Kansas City campus for UMKC. In fact, that their name is based on the old name of the university. A little bit of trivia there. The headline is Hackers Hit the University of Missouri System, comma, and 9,000 other schools.
And all of them.
Every school, high school, everything. I got 1,000 emails yesterday due to this.
This is affecting. So it's Instructure Canvas was hacked or penetrated or whatever by somebody somewhere somehow, potentially as long as 2 years ago, depending on what you're getting at here. Short version is they took down, as I understand it, you guys can correct me because this is changing as we go. They took down the authentication capability and login capability, so no one could get into any of their Canvas course shells. Is that fair? Are we at all accurate?
I think at the base level,
at least that happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
The immediate impact was that, correct.
But it's not clear, did they exfiltrate any actual course data, and would that be of any value?
Right.
It's hard
Shiny
to say.
hackers.
They got a lot of
value to somebody.
Well, is it? I don't know. They got a lot of usernames, passwords, authentication information like that, but not real, like actual information. There are concerns, and someone mentioned, I didn't see who was yelling at the time. There are concerns that if these were school districts, then these are people under 18 who you now have email addresses and username and passwords, and that's a whole different ball of wax. So,
yeah, I mean, for anybody who's like dealt with integrations and the like into these platforms, wow. I mean, I don't even do
in the cloud. We don't have to worry about it.
But like the APIs and stuff, and like how that
LTI.
I can't. Yeah, LTI, which is just a fancy word for the different APIs.
For Markdown APIs.
But how these companies have operated, and if Raul was here, he would just be screaming at us right now that some of these privileges that happen, like it's just like, yeah, just go ahead and give us everything. We'll just take all of it. We can just get in there and do whatever we want to do. And it's like, wait, what? And so I'm not going to be surprised to find out that it wasn't necessarily infiltrated as much as it was like just was let in and they just had their way. And
the default password was admin.
It was just something stupid. They just like a simple exploit that was just sitting there. So I would bet, and I'll put my money on it, this is not the first or the last that we're going to see of these types of fun types of.
This isn't the first or the last that's happened to Instructure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're going to see rapid fire.
Well, it's just a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, as far back, I was talking to our CISO yesterday about this. He said, if I'm remembering correctly what he was talking about, there are these stories going back specifically with Instructure to 2024, and every time it happened, it'd be like, no, it was minor. We got it cleared, we got it cleaned up, and we got it fixed. And then it happened again in 2025. Then it happened a few weeks ago. So it's like, I suspect this same group and other groups, like you said, they found some sort of exploit, usually through some sort of poorly documented API from another cloud platform. And they've been in there gathering information for years,
we let them in.
And they just basically leveraged this authentication attack this week because they knew it was finals week, and that's funny.
I read somewhere, I forgot what article I was reading, but there's tons of them out there, that they went through one of their free platforms to get to everything else.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Is how I read that.
I mean, let's be honest. Anybody who has like a Max plan right now and can like open a terminal on the side of a browser can all of a sudden start to get this code fairly readily.
Yeah, I've got half of it.
I mean, if you're in your browser right now and you're watching this in YouTube on your computer, just press F12 and open up that console on the right-hand side, and there's your code.
That's only for developers, Mark.
Whoa. Come on, man.
And
you're not allowed in there.
Copy and paste that into your IDE/vibe coding thing of choice and have fun.
Just hit go.
Spend the weekend just really finding out what's under the hood here. I mean, that's all it takes. I mean, that's really what we're looking
Find me every vulnerability. Go.
Right. So,
.com.
that's where we are, right? And I mean, so everybody has this newfound superpower of, let me just hack into this thing and let Claude help me break through the back.
Well, I think you're talking about something that we're going to see a little bit more often coming up is, this was an organized group. And what Mark's saying is this could be happening on accident just by people being curious.
So I believe that the traditional posture of a lot of security offices, pick your organization type, whatever, are overly concerned about looking at who's coming in, who's trying to get in. It's like they're already in. The calls are coming from inside the house. And so by way of all the integrations and everything like that that's happened because of the lack of clear governance around how APIs are structured, and when it happens and it just goes out, you get the full keys to the kingdom.
Poorly documented APIs. Yeah,
then that company is now beholden to whatever the security context of the other company that's now tied in through API. And it's just it becomes this domino effect. And you can't keep track of every single one of these integrated vendors by way of LTI and API integration. So it's going to happen. It's going to continue to spread.
So
everything local.
Correct, Justin. And the challenge, a lot of the stuff is in years past and for years continuing, because people aren't going to migrate away from Canvas because of this. Now, if someone happens to be preparing an RFP for next week, it might change their mind. If your contract is about to end, you might renegotiate said contract and ask for a discount because, hey, thanks. But schools who are not on Canvas, and there's it's something like two-thirds, 40%, something like that. There's some large number,
including Justin.
But if you're on Moodle, if you're on Blackboard, if you're on other ones, you're probably like breathing a sigh of relief. But this could happen to you just as easily.
Oh, Blackboard. I mean, it could happen to anybody. Like,
well, my point being that a lot of times,
no, I mean, like we're on you said Blackboard. I mean, this can happen to anybody. It's just Canvas is probably the most used, or the most targeted, right? I mean, that's kind of how that works.
Well, Canvas is the biggest one right now.
So they're the highest target. They probably have the most data
until yesterday. So now
at the end of the day,
data rich.
All the cyber insurance companies are like, yes, we're just going to jack up these rates on everybody now and see. This is such a risk. So that $250,000 policy you have, let's just make that a cool $1 million, and we'll see how this goes.
I think in our particular vertical, this is really interesting in the fact that this is going to kick off more serious discussions to what you were just saying, Mark, is that sometimes these are coming from within the house. And I think for us in particular, because not all of us have to deal with Canvas or any of that, it would be really interesting on how this starts to waterfall into our parts. And maybe we need to have the...
Cloud controls the future. Oh, wait.
Network
maybe we need to have our buddy Colin come back on and talk to us about it, right? Because our show,
But
couple
we were
months
going to do
ago.
that anyway.
Month and a
And we
half.
talked about
We're going to follow up with
security
with
of-
AV Trust at InfoComm. Yeah,
And now we have a reason.
Well,
Yes,
and
but something to talk about finally.
yeah, we didn't before. We just
because
like
we
hanging
we are proponents of network-based stuff. We are proponents of cloud. We are proponents. But now we all knew that this was a potential vulnerability, and it's like, well, maybe. And now it's like, oh, Jesus, it is real. Like, this can really happen.
never been a cloud hack.
Well, and I've been pushing that the next step in learning technology is true integration with the LMS. Like
Mhm.
when the instructor can pull up the LMS on the display itself and just go from there and not have that compute in the middle. Like that was going.
What?
What?
Yeah,
What?
I know.
What
What
spaceship
sort of fever dream
What
are you living here?
I have seen different software
future.
manufacturers that are building
I
LMSs
have
with
been to the top
displays
of
in
the
the
mountain.
classrooms.
You
And it's
sound
a
like-
really cool concept.
This is the kind of shit that I would have said a year ago.
Exactly. But like this at least gives me pause that if the AV technology isn't mature enough to handle the security on that side, like how much access to data do we want to give them?
The concept would be fine until the only security apparatus that's existing on that display is some shitty Android thing that's sitting there that hasn't been updated in
Yeah.
15 years.
And a
and
default password you can't
Yeah.
change.
I don't
Yeah.
think this is going to slow down some migrations to the cloud and things, but I do think it does bring to the forefront that there are some serious things that we need to discuss. And, how do we go about it? Because this will trickle down. This is not going to stay at the cloud-based LMS system. It's going to go across in our world. We already see some of these protections in the corporate worlds
Mark,
and
you
everything
mentioned
else.
this with some of these cloud monitoring platforms have literally told, and big vendors,
All the exciting ones.
big vendors have said straight up, just give me your default
Just give
admin
me
password for
their
all your
default
stuff.
password and
We'll enter it
deal with
here.
the API in the back end.
And yeah, and then it looks
Okay.
like they have it.
Okay, Chuck,
What?
here you go.
So
Can you just
1,
use
2,
your
3, 4,
login
5,
everywhere?
6.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, but that's how they're structured. It just shows you they're a little over their skis on a lot of these things. And I'm not saying that's what happened to Instructure, but I think we're seeing such a push with cloud and AI and all this stuff. And Joe, you're absolutely right. There was breaches well before cloud.
no,
was
Oh, yeah,
only
yeah.
yesterday.
right. And so that it's sometimes we have to just like take a pause, right, and reassess where we are and what's going on. And I think that's kind of moving to where we are right now. We had that question: is it back up? It's not right. I think it's up, but I think there's a lot of organizations right now that are like reassessing their posture towards this platform now and say, okay, this is a huge FERPA thing, and so we have to be like lockstep how we're going to move through this because there's so much leakage that can happen that we have to be brutally honest how we're going to do this. And so I think there wasn't this reaction, just flip the switch, turn it back on and go. Everybody's like, well, let's take a good hard look around this. And let's understand what the governance looks like. How are we doing these integrations and how are we gating this?
However, it's for a lot of us, it's finals week. And so like the email that went out to my campus was, you can log in right now, go in, export your gradebook stuff right now. Do it right now so you have your grades and then get the hell out of there.
Right.
Because we don't know what it's going to be in an hour, in a day, in a week. We don't know.
Username and passwords.
Admin.
I mean, that's really, since they're all linked through the Azure services or whatnot, it's all linked. So it only takes one or two per campus to really cause different havoc because now everybody can get in, or it's the one instructor that's on sabbatical, and so their username and password has been used, but they didn't come back and change them. I mean, if we're all instructed, do we have to change our passwords?
Yeah.
But
I mean, we were up.
Are you guys multi-factoring everybody who doesn't have a campus IP or if they're on Wi-Fi or any of that stuff? I mean, it's
Yes,
pretty
it's a thing.
much.
It should be.
it's borderline ridiculous for us. I know why it happens.
No,
To
yeah,
exactly what you're
you
saying,
have
Jamie.
to
They
have
get that SSO access. They have a username and password as it stood at that point, or it's probably hashed and salted. It's hard to say. Could they get into financial systems and things? They'll certainly try, but I don't think they'll get very far.
Did anyone else start their summer installs today? Because today was like our first day
I did, but the cloud was offline. So
no, this was our first day of classroom refreshes, and I had
Are
two
you, like,
rooms.
You're like already in summer mode right now.
Where we were supposed to be. The
Very
problem
closed
was
campus.
our last day of finals was yesterday, which couldn't happen, and so I had a couple of
today
rooms.
is yesterday.
that are being used for Summer 1 session, and I had 3 days to get those completely refreshed and installed. So we went ahead and pulled them out first thing in the morning because Canvas was back up. We're like, okay, we're going to do this. Yeah, now they're taking finals and they're on Monday.
Oh, wow.
Like, thank God we go in early.
So, Larry, if your finals were supposed to end yesterday, but they couldn't because of this.
They're now being taken on Monday, and I was able to put
Monday
them in other places. Yeah.
Okay, so
these finals were administered
Friday on Tuesday? What's happening?
Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird finals week, sort of a week. Your week start on Tuesdays?
When's commencement? Is that tomorrow?
Commencement was today. Those people graduated without the finals.
What is happening in North Carolina?
Nothing.
Are you guys even doing anything legal in education over there?
Okay, Western Kentucky.
Hey,
ooh, shots fired.
We have a finals week, and then we graduate after finals.
We do too. It just happens to be on a Friday.
Then you take finals after graduation.
We weren't supposed to until Canvas decided not to work.
Ruined the whole summer. Flights
it was going to work perfectly fine till then.
So you're saying there's larger ramifications with this because people are canceling flights, and all my flights are booked on Spirit. So
yeah, that's not going to.
Well, okay.
All right. So I did mention we had a second. It's the Waffle House of this guy. I did mention we had a second news story because we had a first news story. This became the news story. So I do still want to bring up the other news story because it's about us, and we like talking about ourselves. So just as a bit of a preview here, so we are presenting at 2 conferences coming up here in a few weeks. We're presenting at the NWMET, the Northwest Met Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah in a week and a half, something like that. It's not next week, but the week after.
It's like days away.
It's literally days because my phone tells me how long until my flight, and it's less than that. So
you're in the countdown. You're doing pre-boarding right now?
Let me check in right now on my phone. Let's see what it says here. It says that flight's in 9 days.
Yeah, it says Spirit shut down, so good luck.
You go to Waffle House. Anyway, and then we're presenting a few weeks later at InfoComm. Basically, so if you're at either one of those or both, please join us. It's the same session at both, but we're gonna leverage the slightly different environment at Northwest Met to kind of fine tune. Mark and Justin, you guys want to give them what's the elevator pitch of what we're doing here? Because it's AI, because everything's AI these days.
It's all out.
But we kind of like with this Instructure thing, we're going local.
We are going to walk you through how to build and deploy a local agent that can help you do AV design and math, and then give you the ability to recreate that so you can control your own data and its responses so you can run this thing wherever you want. So we're going to give you the skills to build your own agents and understand what it means. And we're not talking about just building an agent in ChatGPT and things. You're going to run that model on your own iron and understand what that means. Token free. Have your own power to do the magic on your own machines, build out your own workflows, and we'll give you the kind of the pillars of success to prop that up. And then we're going to have some large scale discussions around agentic workflows and what disruption that brings. And maybe, just maybe, Justin will share you some of the madness that he's got going on with his orchestration system.
Gravy.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But what are we going to share with them, Mark? We're going to give away what?
The recipe.
Say it. Say the words.
You say it.
Markdown.
I don't have to say it. It's right there.
We're gonna give away our Markdown files. Which
we will give you the entire step-by-step playbook. You will have it all.
It's 6,000 lines long. I don't know how many characters.
65. Well, yeah, the main one was 6,500 lines of text.
And then we chunked it down. 6,000 lines long. It cost me around, I don't know how many tokens, but it's like $40-$50. And we're going to give it away for free.
So we're going to be talking about gateways. We're going to be talking about harnesses. We're going to talk about models. We're going to talk about knowledge base and RAG, all the fun stuff that is in AI, so you can build your own stuff and be self-sufficient and not beholden to the cloud.
And environmental definitions.
And we'll also talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each, because Mark is doing the local stuff. I've got some local stuff going on, but for what I want to use, this is derived from Pocket Justin. If you've been following this story,
everyone wants to.
The way I have to use Pocket Justin is I've got to keep it on the cloud, and we're going to go through why, and then we're going to show you why you don't need to if you're just want to keep it local and not spend a lot of money.
Larry and I cannot wait to get our hands on Pocket Justin.
Just going to grab Pocket Just with both hands.
You don't know what's in there.
I technically can wait.
Well, you're going to have to. You got days until you can get your access to that. So yeah, it should be a fun session. It's going to be hands-on. Bring some computing devices with you and bring some questions if you have curiosities around all these things. It is a hands-on, let's build it. We're going to go through, we're going to give you copy and paste things. If you are attending, there are some prerequisites. Go download your packages in advance so that you can come prepared and not be...
Yeah, we'll get some emails out both through, if you're at Northwest Met, through them, and if you're at InfoComm through Avixa, we'll get some emails out to you on some like prereq stuff. And I know not everyone's going to do it, and there's someone will show up with the world's oldest laptop and stuff.
But yeah, don't bring your Windows 3.1 and expect us to be able to handhold you through this crap.
You can, but I'm going to make the recommendation that we're going to flatten that out and run Linux on that first thing. And I will come with that drive, and we will just fix that problem for you right there.
So again, if you're attending the NWMET conference, and if you're not, please sign up. There's still spots available, and we'd love to have you there. In Salt Lake, week after next, we are presenting on whatever the date is on that, Wednesday the 20th at 1 p.m. So I believe that's the first day of that conference. There's workshops and things prior. It goes all week, but
our session goes all week. It's 3 days.
The first day of the conference is on Wednesday. We're presenting right after lunch, so bring your sleepy time, nap time plans for that. And then at InfoComm, we're presenting Thursday at 10 o'clock at InfoComm. Again, hands-on, bring your laptop, and we'll load up stuff for you, and you can kind of walk through this process and see how to build your own local, basically automated tool set you can take with you to job sites or do whatever. And then Justin's going to talk about how you can then, if you want to build that out in the cloud, there's advantage to that because you're using somebody else's hardware, which is way more powerful than your laptop. Mm-hmm. But there's also other things it can do, and it's much more reasoning power and all that fun stuff. And so we'll show a lot of that stuff. And like Justin and Mark were arguing about there, we are going to give you the files you can take home to do this and build this out as a useful utility for yourselves. So
save you a lot of tokens.
No recipe.
It's pronounced recipe.
That's right.
So
all right. It's going to be fun.
That's our double news story. You got 2 news stories this week.
No extra charge.
So, well,
except people had to pay twice.
There's more tokens involved.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about, what are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about production media studio project weird things.
Your standard one-offs.
Yeah. These things every 5 years, you have to do one of these somewhere, and the challenges that come with it, and what's 2026 look like. All right. The AV Super Friends are sponsored by Computer Comforts, and they've got a brand new product hitting the lineup.
And this one exists because not every classroom needs a full server rack hiding inside a lectern. Shocking, I know.
Last year, CCI's Evolve Lectern was a big hit. A push-button power table combined with a super flexible AV cabinet. But let's be honest, not every room needs 24 units of rack space.
That's where the new AV Hub comes in. It's a lighter, more space-efficient solution for classrooms that still need real AV infrastructure.
That's right. You get 8 units of rack space, and the whole thing sits only about 10 inches off the wall.
Which makes it a great fit when you're pairing it with a sit-stand power table instead of building a massive lectern footprint into the room.
And this wasn't designed in isolation. The AV Hub was developed in collaboration with Texas State University, so it's very much built around real higher ed classrooms and real deployment needs.
Meaning fewer compromises, cleaner installs, and way less. Why is this furniture the size of a refrigerator?
If you want to see photos, specs, and all the details, head over to Computer Comforts website and check out the AV Hub. You can find that at computercomforts.com.
It's a smart, compact approach to classroom AV furniture from a company that's been doing higher ed for decades.
That's the new AV Hub from Computer Comforts, purpose-built, space-efficient, and designed for how classrooms actually work. And thanks again to Computer Comforts for sponsoring the AV Super Friends.
That reminds me, I've got to order one of those.
The AV Hub?
Yeah, actually.
Just go over to computercomforts.com/AV-hub.
I have a great place for one, and I forgot. I've got to
Where, on a wall?
Shocker.
Wow.
One on every wall. They will have one of those at I believe at Northwest Met and at InfoComm, so you can get hands-on with that. Also, there are some new, let's say, installation-friendly modifications coming to some of their lecterns. So some cool stuff. All right. So this topic, we do have it started with a news story. I think we were going to cover this as news, but it's really too broad it's not about specific project. It's just kind of a broad discussion of the category. And I'll link in the show notes. EdTech Magazine, University Media Centers bring creative technology to the community and it's talking about how a lot of schools, and everyone does this periodically, you build some sort of interactive media lab, some sort of media production studio space. Sometimes it's tied to an art program or a technology program at the school. Sometimes it's tied to journalism, sometimes the film school. We've all built these. We will all build them every couple of years. It seems to go around and around and around. And I think where this came from is several of us are doing this with LED virtual production studios at this point.
That was the request.
Well, until we found out that they had $3,000.
But you can't do it for $3,000? Are you kidding me?
Well, I can.
I can go pick it up at Best Buy for that.
Look, I got a quote on this LED wall. It is 20 foot by 16 foot, and it's like a 3 millimeter pixel pitch. It'll work, right?
Sure.
Wide shots only. Yes.
Roll it in there.
Yeah.
Well, there's $3,000 in that quote. It's just many $3,000.
So I think there's a few variants of this strain that goes around that I think, Jamie, what you were approached with, and maybe the one that I had built up a few years ago, there's that like production. We want a small studio. And it's going to be like the super one button. The people are going to walk in, they're going to push the thing and and they're going to be media literate. Okay. And then there's kind of the new wave of this where it's like, we want to have this immersive experience where I can go be put in the middle of the data storm and have everything around me interactive and all that. And they're blurring, but I still want to do that production stuff too in here. And we got like a couple grand, like Chris said. What can we do?
And I want to do Zoom.
Yeah, well, of course, because we can't have all the researchers there at the same time.
Can't have
Broadcast with
It's got cameras.
Yeah.
Like, obviously,
Why
it should
can't
use them.
But this is going to be a showcase piece. And we're going to have a couple deans here when we open this thing up. And so it's going to be a big deal.
You have a donor, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, it's a blood donor. There's no money, but like, yeah.
You got $3 grand.
I find
Yeah.
that it
donor.
is the different levels of this, and sometimes that the ask isn't all that bad. Like in my case, that they wanted to do, it's broadcast journalism, and then they didn't really have a studio space, a real
Call
one.
that Brojo.
And so they wanted to build their own little simplified studio space, and they had a budget. They wanted a wall, but then they realized that that's a level of complexity that they weren't quite ready for. So kind of got rid of the virtual
Well, there's that
production
staffing
side.
question too, beyond the technology.
Yeah, there's a staffing question.
It's like-
Because why am I building the whole thing from scratch? Is because, some of these departments don't have an engineer. Maybe they're being led by more talent, more artistic-minded folks, so maybe
Marketing.
not an engineer. But we're putting this thing together, and sometimes the thought process, in my case, and I'm going to throw it to Mark in a minute because I think his is similar, is that there's this idea of, well, it's going to be used for broadcast studio. We're going to record our shows in here. We're going to do this thing. And then you look at what this article is, and you start asking, well, could it be more? Could it also be rented? Can you help this be self-sustaining?
It's a value play.
Can you take, like in my case, I started asking, can we take more technically minded of your students who don't care about being the famous, the pretty face or the voice? They want to be the engineer. Can we take them and build it? Can we make this bigger than just we want to make TV shows?
Yeah.
And it's not that now look, my peers, it's not that they overlooked these things. It just wasn't on the top of their mind. Their mind was, we have a hole in our program. We got to fill this specific hole in our program. And then you start asking, well, can you do more? Now, which is weird that we want to ask that. Can you do more? Because we don't want to give anybody more. That's just insanely complicated. But Mark, yours was kind of the other way.
Yeah, it's different. I think the model you're kind of describing being the educational venture will never sustain itself.
No, not by itself.
It will cost more to build that stuff than you will have students that are paying tuition to use it. And that is the impossible piece you have to understand. And so that if that is the case, how do you subsidize this to make it so that you can get the value out of it? And the secret word, and pay attention, turn up your car stereo.
Bicycle.
Public-private partnerships.
That's not a word. That's three words.
This is where everybody goes. It means, how do we bring in outside dollars to use this space? And that's leasing these things so we can kind of use them. And I think that becomes we bolt that onto research and we say, oh, it's going to be transformative, and voila, we're bringing in other businesses to come in and start to use this thing so we can get some return and some revenue.
Where these things start to fail is you don't have buy-in, which coincides with having an accountable person responsible for that thing every day, whether that's one person or a team. If you build something that you're expecting faculty and students to fix and operate and run at the highest capable efficiency that thing can run at, it's not going to happen. It's going to fail. And then everybody's, why is this so difficult to run? Why is this breaking? Why is it?
But those are different things. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I think what everybody has kind of danced around is the staffing issue, and Chris called it out earlier. And like, we have one that we're in the process of building right now, and finding the person who has the technical chops to own it. I mean, and to care and feed it is the issue at this point.
Absolutely. Just think about this. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe even less, we had people in classes that were technicians running, codecs and steering cameras and all that crap. So that's just a classroom.
But I think a lot of this conversation, and you're hearing it right now, there's a lot of bias in this, just because of the way that it postures. And I'm going to take the other side of this perspective, as weird as it is, because this has been the challenge in building up the space that I'm building. That was the exact thing we needed to solve for. We flew down to Arizona State. We looked at the Mix Center. We went to all these different places that had these immersive spaces that were
go to their decision theater.
Yeah, we did these things. And that,
what'd you decide?
At the takeaway, the leadership said two things. One, do not seek a finished solution, because you're going to want to change it immediately. So think of it more as a black box that's flexible, and you're going to be able to change these things later on. And then the other thing we noticed looking around is like, there is like teams of people.
Who's going to change things later on, Mark? Who is that?
Well, let me get to it. So I've taken that as like, okay, how do I take that challenge and say, what do we need to do? And I do believe to deliver these in the next generation, you cannot look at it of how would we have done this yesterday, and how do I build out a traditional studio? You have to think automation first. What does it need to do successfully 80% of the time, and how do you automate those things? And so they can deliver that without needing a whole production team and a television crew and A1s and videos.
It requires people.
It still does to build it and maintain those things, but resist building it in a way that you're inserting that human to need to be there for those simple functions.
We can build anything. We're all capable of this. Where it falls apart is the buy-in from the top and the bottom. Usually what I see is the top people like, let's do this idea. And the bottom people get it shoved in their face, and they're like, I don't even know how to use this shit. Like, there's no buy-in that's consistent from the bottom up, top down. And you don't have a person accountable to run that and be the expert.
So our charge was 0 to success in 60 seconds. That's it. That's the challenge.
Wait,
so
what?
How does somebody come in the room?
Sounds cool. What the hell's happening?
Within 60 seconds, have that room do something. Now, I'm not reproducing the Mandalorian in this for the average person who's coming in here. But if I walk in the room and I just want to do a visualization, I have my data, get up. It should not include me logging in and going through all these things and hooping through where's all my stuff.
Well, now we're talking
this
about
level,
5 different things, though.
But like the simple things to get that true use so that can be used day in and out. So, and I think the big over the top production thing is actually less of the use case. As weird as it is, it needs to do the simple things more easily.
I agree. I had a few years ago. I may or may not have been, rage interviewing for new jobs, and I went into a place that did integrations in a lot of house of worships, and I asked a lot of these questions because they specialized in these big, complicated production-based. You've got to have 7 people to run an like TV studio thing, and I said, well, do you have like an easy button so that the kindergarten class can have the little bitty Christmas program? Mm-hmm. Well, no, we bring in everybody. Why? Why can't you have? Because to Mark's point, like 60% of your things don't require 12 people. They require one.
That's what I was about to say. What's your expectation of that content when you're done? That's the other side of that equation.
Usually,
maybe you need those 7 people based upon the expectations of that event.
But to your point earlier about we used to have for video conference classes, we used to have a crews of people, and now they log into Zoom and hit go.
At least one.
What's good enough? What's the
And that's
expectation?
what's good enough.
That's what I'm saying. Good enough is good enough.
But we're not
But
building
that's
these
for us.
spaces for good enough. I mean,
Exactly.
No, but we are. Like this broadcast studio that I'm making, it cannot reach the level that is needed for most giant production
Does your
companies,
administration know that, and they understand that, and they're bought
the
into good
people
enough?
involved do know that, and it's a student production. They're going to do their thing, right? They're not getting, Lucasfilm sound stages here. It's a 30 by 30 room, for God's sake. So you can only do so much,
should be
and they
cheaper.
have realistic expectations. But can they make a one desk news program? Yes. Could you make a small podcast station, right, where you put it on a sofa and some chairs and you light it correctly, and they can make small productions that look better than what they had yesterday? And now the
that's
question
a different
is,
story than
can you fulfill
building a
it?
virtual studio, though.
well, exactly. So we had to step into that. Like, virtual studio is the next stage. That's tomorrow. That's later. But some of the big questions here were, can you fill this? Like, are you going to utilize this space 70, 80% of the time? And like, well, probably not with programming. Probably not with academic programming. All right, so what if you open this up and you said, okay, well, how about other sources? Now your students have practicums.
Yep. It's
Have
real world
these
use cases
things,
for them.
and they're going to break stuff, and it's going to be just good enough. And these are the clients that won't hire a real production company or a real studio space, because it's insanely
costs money.
expensive. It's insanely expensive. So it's
Setting
good enough.
expectations.
So this is a broadcast studio that's, quote, good enough to put on a show, to put on a reel, to put on a resume, and we can move forward. And they'll get their real world training some other day. And like Mark's big visualization space, it's different.
Totally different.
There's lots of, but you have that from the other side. You have donors throwing money at this, and that's different.
But even like the studio today versus the studio we went to school in, and how you're using those things, it's different now, right? It's one thing to go and learn how to operate a camera and be hands-on. That's a different part of the curriculum. That doesn't necessarily have to be this space, right? Is that you can have cameras and you can do television camera, but go look at modern television studios today. Remote cameras, things are being driven to be like, so it's not about
Motion
a human
control
being there.
cameras.
Like there's motion. Yeah, exactly. So it's not that old world philosophical approach. You have more automation. You have more remote connectivity.
It's not four dudes behind a pedestal.
And so, understand that it can be done more cost effectively, but you do need to understand what is that success criteria, right? Is it make sure that the class can come in here and operate all those things and be hands on with all this stuff? It's like, well, no. Maybe that's not what this venue's for. If you need that, go do that in the lab. This is where we're actually doing these shows, and we're using this automated equipment. We're going to do that, and this is about that product, right? And so it's not about necessarily building it, breaking it down, and doing all this other stuff. That's a different piece of your curriculum. And so it's right tool for the right job, Justin. You say it all the time, like in that expectation. Are we doing the right thing in these spaces? We shouldn't be trying to do everything under the sun, and do the things that can do successfully most often.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. And I think that's the key, is that setting expectations with your clients
Yes.
who usually come up with these ideas, or perhaps your bosses or your boss's boss. And you have to set no, we can't make this magic with a Pac-Man button in 30 seconds. That's not going to happen. But we can do this in 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Is that good enough?
Right.
And they say no, you go down that decision tree and just make it happen.
And I'm starting to have a lot more conversations with these folks that are doing these kind of things, even AR, VR labs, even the gaming spaces, right? Like, how can you make this a revenue generation? Because it was cool yesterday, but you have to keep that stuff up. Like, you have to have upkeep, you have to have maintenance, and you only got one-time funding. So on the gaming stations, right? Can you have can you have little high school tournaments there? Like, can you rent it out to the local public leagues? Can you do these things where now you're turning revenue with some of this, the AR VR? Can we have these whole studios set up that's only used like 20% of the time? Well, there's all kinds of businesses out there can they come in and start using these for a fee? Like, I'm starting to have more of these conversations that I've never had before.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
we're doing the same thing.
going the esports arena route, like ours is the headquarters for the NC Esports Academic League. And so
Bragger.
it's a 4-year-old system now that needs to be updated.
Get that on a shirt.
But I'm like you were saying, like there is revenue there. There's also the pipeline for students. And so like there are other avenues for these type of spaces outside of just the academic side and the revenue generation side. Like if it is a pipeline to the community and to the general population, now that there are less students being produced, those type of things matter.
I think the athletics model,
production studio, that's different.
Yeah, the athletics model is starting to bleed into the academics world.
Right. It is like, how are you getting the interest in these things? You got to build these things on the edge to what is your differentiator? What are you doing that's different at your university that I can't go get from XYZ down the road? And why should I come here? Right? And so I do want to chime in on one thing you said, that VR thing. In this grand journey that I'm embarking on in this facility that I'm building, VR was one of those pieces that we always held in there as this use case. And it was probably the one that we had the least amount of confidence in. And we're like, we just don't have any champions that are going to come in here and have content for this. And so I had a placeholder for it. It's in the design, it's there. And then they're actually starting to hire the directors within the facilities. And last week, I meet with them. And the very first thing he said, he's like, I need to know more about what we're doing for the VR pipeline. Because I'm not going to name the company, but I have direct ties to this medical research fund, and they're extremely interested in our VR capability. And as part of their $6 billion bringing a drug to market, and they're very, very interested in motion capture in the VR aspect of this research of what it is that their drugs are doing for these kinesthetic outcomes. And I was like, shit. That was the piece I was least prepared to actually get into. And here we are. It is the number one revenue thing. And it's going to part the sea, right? It's going to be, when you start talking in terms of billions, it changes the whole dynamic. And into that research endeavor and these public-private partnerships, like I mentioned, it's a whole different game. So I was, just as everybody on this call, the most skeptical of the VR piece. And then lo and behold, it's the very first use case for this facility that we're building. It measured in billions.
You can find buy-in
already
for
been
billions.
canceled.
Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Yeah.
It's all based on meta. No, it's not.
But I mean, there are use cases in the pure research domain.
Yes.
It's different when you get into,
Entertainment.
class needing to go hang out in Spain together versus, I want to look at these molecules and understand how, when we give these to people, what happens in their motion. So it's a different game altogether.
Sure.
Chris, tell us about goggles.
Yes, the wave of the future here. Question for y'all on those of you who have built these spaces or are going through this process, and ones where they have local staff or whatever it is. Usually these take longer than a typical project, than a typical classroom, conference room, whatever. These are dedicated spaces. They're specialized. This is a 2, 3 year long project sort of thing. Oftentimes you find by the time you get done and you're at day 0, day 1, ready to launch these things, the use case has either changed or the project champion is no longer there. The stakeholders are now different, and you find a dramatically different use case that had never been conceived of, and both this frustration on, well, no, it wasn't ever designed to do that. Well, that's not how we built that, not how we conceived it, not how we kind of constructed this whole thing to do what was described here in the scope of work. And also this professional challenge of, I could probably sort of make that happen or whatever. So I'm curious if you run into that scenario, because that was my experience a few years ago, and it was incredibly frustrating to see, after building this incredibly complex and very capable space, it wasn't being used to its fruition. It was they were using it to that 10% level, and they were happy with that. And I'm like, well, then all you needed was just a green painted wall.
So why did we waste that money?
So for us, this endeavor was completely different. Now it's part of a new building altogether. It did not exist previously, but
which is even worse because now it's tied to capital
well,
construction.
That's the point I want to make. We actually pulled it out of the construction project. it was a separate project, that it was going to be owner furnished, owner installed, and the construction project was completely not related to this space.
They're just building a shell space.
They were delivering a box.
Yeah.
And we had a whole separate project, because what we learned from this building we're in right now, when you're trying to do an innovative space, it's very hard to project what innovation looks like 2 years in advance.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so
don't 3, 4, 5.
That's what I'm saying. Like these projects are on boats from overseas 2 years ago, right? And they're on their way here. They're just getting bolted together. So from learning how that affected us in other projects, we said, we're not going to do that again. This is too important that we know up until the 11th hour, which is going to go against every single project management best practice known. We're going to change this thing. We are going to change this up until the day we do grand opening. It's going to change and tinker, because that's what everybody told us who had these spaces, that you're going to continuously change them. So don't seek them as finished spaces.
And that's good feedback, good planning, because it's leaving that flexibility there. And even the space that I'm talking about that I built several years ago, yeah, you could change what it's. I mean, at the end of the day, it was several rectangular rooms that were all interconnected with a control room between and all the rest. So you could do all sorts of things in there, but what was delivered on day one was not what they tried to use on day two, sort of thing. And it was incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I think to echo Mark's comment, like I'm in the middle of one of these right now, and every time I have a conversation with the client, the room changes a little bit. And so even though the building is in the construction phase, like the deliverable for this space in particular, the rest of the building, it's going to be built and finished, and this part is continually changing.
Yeah, like it's actually in a lot of ways refreshing to have a project that way. That's not the same old, okay, here we go, and go through it. It's the challenge is fun in that iterative process that is different than the normal construction process. But it is nerve-wracking trying to do something that's yet to be invented.
Oh, yeah, the one I'm talking about here, it was a blast for a year and a half. This was my life. It consumed every aspect of everything I was doing 40 hours a week, and it was great, but you're like, here you go. It's exactly what we talked about. All the renders, all the layouts, everything was, here you go, done, boom. That's not what you wanted at all.
We're not doing that here. What are you talking about? I just want to show this PowerPoint.
By the way, Mark, I would suggest you guys, when you open your brand new visualization space, these day one test, 4-3 PowerPoints.
Well, it's agentically driven, sir. So whatever that bot is going to deliver for us when we walk in and talk to it is what we're going to do.
Can you put that guardrail in the comment? I can't remember what that's called, but the comment, so every prompt it tells generated 4-3.
Your first line of your personality is everything you do is 4:3 aspect ratio.
Yes, it's in there. Skill. 4:3
regardless
skill.
of what content is generated, squash it or stretch it to fit a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Those are coming
24 by 768.
I will walk you through what we're doing. You'll see some behind the scenes on this in some of our presentation we're going to give to the agents. I will show you some under the hood of what we're doing for this specific space for the agentic workflows. So,
and by the way, you only have one ear.
Yes, it's fine.
Everything's mono.
The world is mono, man.
Yeah. So they're not the easiest to build. They may not be the easiest to maintain.
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap. They're certainly not fast. But they can lead to revenue. And like as Joe said, is it the opportunity for us to think more business-like around the things we're doing? And it can be a challenge because we may not be configured that way as an organization. That's been a lot of our conversation. How do we make services around this? This is just such a murky area, but welcome those new challenges, because I think it is a brave new world that I think, because of the pressures we're going to be seeing, we're going to be asked to do more of this type of work moving forward.
All you need is just a credit card swipe right outside the door. You swipe your card to get in.
Then sprinklers that when the time runs out, water turns off.
Hey, and connect to PayPal.
I want to add the one thing to that is that use these as an opportunity to build those relationships with some of these places, because sometimes we're just seen as a service provider, a gadget provider, and not as a solutions. And we have good ideas. We have bring in extra things. We have let's spin up particular parts of your curriculum that might help. Maybe we can help with that. And
also those students that are in those programs make really good student workers.
Yes.
So like if you have that partnership, it's a great way to get some free labor.
I just find sometimes it breaks
Free labor.
it breaks down that idea
Larry, I
that
pay my students. I don't know about you.
I don't pay them enough to.
Experiential employment opportunities.
I find it breaks down
Yes.
some of those barriers. You're not just a provider of things; you're actually a partner in their success. And
Jamie, that's a good point, because in order to deliver a specialized space, a specialized project like this successfully, it is a long-term partnership with the stakeholders, with the project champion to build that relationship and to deliver what is needed at the end. And sometimes they're going to come to you as a resource. They kind of have a vague notion, or they've seen other things at other schools or other institutions, and they're like, I kind of want this, but a little different, and we're going to do this. And it's up to you to put all those pieces together and figure it out and fill in the blanks.
And yet sometimes that champion uses that project to get another job somewhere else. And
Yes,
you're
they
like,
do
"Dang, yeah."
immediately.
Within the
And then
first
you're
week.
like,
yeah, and then
what are
we're
we gonna do with
stuck
this
here.
space now?
They don't take us with them.
You're stuck with the puppy, and they moved on.
Because they say,
You went and
"Look what
got
I
$6
built."
billion, but I'm stuck here.
All right. Any other last thoughts on specialized virtualization, production sort of spaces? And no, we beat this one on the ground. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got a listener email, a letter from a listener.
Hey,
Wants to know, why the heck are we talking about the things we're talking about? No, he's
how many F-bombs can we get?
he wants some sage advice. So let's see what we can come up with.
All right,
But
let's
first, let's relax for 24 seconds.
And now, Quiet Contemplations by Miles Dante.
Maybe instead of labeling cables, we should label people. Like, this person will unplug the camera, or this person believes Bluetooth is infrastructure. Then when something breaks, troubleshooting would be a lot faster, and probably more legally complicated.
All right, so we got a letter a couple of weeks ago, or it was last week. Comes from friend of the show, and I'll just say from Sam. I did not ask if we're okay to name and shame him on the air here, but Sam asks, "Hey, we've been adding some high flex classrooms to our inventory, and so far we've standardized on dual Sennheiser Team Connect ceiling mics. We just got a demo pack of the Catchbox systems with DSP. Our initial testing of the Catchbox system, whether used as a regular handheld or a lav in the box, has been very positive. I have found that the Team Connect does fine when one person is talking, but things get pretty choppy when you have more than one voice at a time, which can happen during discussion type activities. We have a small maximum 36 seats class sizes and mostly use Teams for video conferencing, although still a bit of Zoom. What's your experience with this type of application? Obviously, from a cost perspective, there's a lot of appeal to a Catchbox." So that's question one. He had two other questions here, but question one is, do we like ceiling mics for our high flex hybrid spaces? Do we like dedicated mics, like say a Catchbox they may hand it around to students? And by Catchbox, he's talking about the I can't remember the name of it now.
The Plus Catchbox, or the Plus.
The Plus is the hub, but it's the clip-on lav and the handheld adapter kit for it.
Yeah.
Not the traditional Catchbox, which also works very well, but they have a new line out there. So what do you guys think about that? Do we like mics that can be worn and handed around, mics on the ceilings?
I'm doing that exact same thing right now.
I wondered if, like, did he overcomplicate, or she? I don't know who this person is, but is it overcomplicated? The things that stood out was like, we have a couple of Team Connect ceiling mics. So
How big is your room?
In a 35-seat room.
All right, so 30 maximum 36 seats. To me, that does seem like, do you need that many? I will also say at the outset, and I've confirmed this with engineers at Sennheiser in particular. I don't know about, I can't speak to the Shure ones. I can't speak to Yamaha. I can't speak to, the Biamp Clear ones. Sennheiser under measures. They're very conservative on their estimates. So they'll say, generally it's what I think they say 10 meter kind of diameter. It'll do way more than that. I will also say, and if you haven't looked at this yet, and this is also something acknowledged by Sennheiser in particular, they make kind of the baby brother, the TCC medium, dramatically outperforms its big brother and has a far bigger pickup range. So if you haven't looked at that, you're getting way over, you're closer to like 40 feet on these things, like 12, 13 meters. That's it. Two of those in a space that size, you could be dealing with a lot of internal
It's rare I use
thought they
two
were-
ceiling mics.
Yeah, I thought they would be fighting each other, and maybe that's part of his problem. Some of the node setup gets a little messy,
overlap,
and overcomplicated. Or is it? And in that case, when you're just using the one, you can do the old trick of just use the pre-auto mixed one.
Auto mix.
Feed. You don't need to auto mix the auto mix.
Use two, you got to pay attention to some more details there.
Yeah, when I first started using the beam tracking mics, like that was the first thing I ran into is I used the specifications for the sizes that they said. And just like he was saying, it got choppy audio all the time. I ended up like unhooking half of them and things cleared up.
Especially if they're in the middle.
Yeah.
So now they're bouncing between the two lobes of the two different microphones. And I ran into the same issue when I would I've got rooms with, a dozen of the parlay mics from Biamp. And I run into at the very first, I ran into those issues all the time. It took me a long time to kind of get them dialed in. And every now and then I still get it weird. I also wonder if when they put the Catchbox system in with it,
I think it's an either or.
Okay,
and if it's either or, that's great. But once you start adding that second thing in, and again, we get into the dynamics of what is,
I've noticed
canceled out
in those rooms. Like you can reference that and have those things dialed in, so it sounds amazing right there, like at your reference point. And then he threw those magic words, Teams and Zoom on top of this,
right?
And historically, they do not like chitter chatter, multi conversation, any of that stuff. They just don't do well with it. And like I said, I can listen to it as a reference and it's fine, but that at the encoding level and what that is doing through that application, it's always different. It's
and that's
never
a good
as good.
Something that I did to do some troubleshooting on one of those situations, get a headphone amp that's Dante enabled, listen to the mic directly, see where the problem is actually coming from. Because it could be a Zoom or Teams problem.
Yeah. Justin, I've done similar things where I'm not using Zoom or Teams, but just using something basic like Audacity and doing the same sort of recordings throughout the space. So you're getting, it sounds very different. It's unprocessed. There's no compression going on. It's much different, but you're getting like that raw audio off of it. I did also point out in an email back to him on this that I said, well, keep in mind both Zoom and Teams do their own software processing. And if you don't have a dedicated DSP in the room, which I believe he does not, then the microphone itself does some processing, but you could potentially have those conflicting each other. So you can go in now. Zoom, to be fair, gives you a lot of granular audio options. Teams basically just says like it says like noise reduction or something. There's like one button on or off basically. It says
it's
noise
basically suck or more suck.
Yeah, it's not great. So you can turn that off and try the exact same test with multiple people talking to see if you're getting that cutout, because it's probably a combination of multiple microphones and multiple lobes trying to determine who am I going to be listening to, and you're going to get a bit of drop every time it switches on
Dante headphone amp.
And that's a great way to listen to it. So have someone else there checking that, playing the far side or something. And then
you could do it by yourself with Dante amp.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's the reason why.
But the software can also conflict with that, so it may work in one piece of software and not another, which means it's not your hardware. So it's going to require a little bit of troubleshooting. But I like, Jamie, you said it best. Start removing stuff from the room first and like dramatically simplify or set up, a test space or something that's roughly the same size.
I think individually each thing, like in this particular case, 36 seats, I think a single microphone, you're probably going to be fine. I also really like that Catchbox Plus system.
It's called with its own clip and the stick. I couldn't remember the name. Clip and the stick.
I like that system, and I like it that it comes. You can also get the throw around box that goes with it. It brings a different feel. Some instructors hate that, some like it. I like both of them individually. When you start trying to cram them together, it gets a little tricky.
It's actually not that bad when you pair a ceiling mic with a hub.
One single mic. Get the Dante version of the hub, because then you can manage it all in the same.
I'm just saying that there's that extra step of things you got to think about.
That's all.
Be careful if you're doing any speech lift in there, though. That throws the whole.
You only do speech lift from the cans.
Yes,
from the can.
Sure. All right. So
wait, one more thing on that before we move on.
Yeah.
So Justin, because you've mentioned it 100 times, which of the Dante headphone amps are you using? Just name drop it right now.
It was the RDO one.
Okay, thanks. Because everybody out there is going to be like, what's he talking about? Let's find which one is it.
Yeah, I use it as the part number. I'll put in the show notes.
I've got it back there on my shelf. I just have to leave.
Well, use the internet in front of you, sir.
Dude,
just get if you're buying it, get the one with the dual ports on the front, not the one with the.
Why don't you go find the
part number? Would go a long way right here in this conversation, sir.
That means I got to Google shit. God bless.
Don't you have a
bot?
I'm doing a show.
Pocket Justin.
Reach in your pocket and ask Pocket Justin. Stroke the magic lamp and see what comes out.
All right, yeah.
Lord. All right,
so he had two other comments here while Justin looks up that part number. He said, by the way, the discussion with the cybersecurity nonprofit guys was really excellent. We agree. We got a lot of good feedback on that one. AV Trust got a lot of good feedback from their appearance here. So we're going to follow up with them at InfoComm and probably do another specifically AV kind of cybersecurity related show later in the year with some further updates. All right, Justin, what do you got for us?
LMS.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
RDL.
Slow down.
Space AV as an audio video dash NH1.
Whoa.
Very dramatic.
But you said it had two ports.
Is there an NH2?
The 2 port. It says 4.
That was really supposed to be a simple question.
Well, we got some.
All right, moving on. What's the last thing, Chris?
Everybody got that? You got it?
One last comment in our voluminous email here, our listener email. Oops, I scrolled right past it. He said, I know, and this is especially prescient given today's conversation, I know some of you love this whole push to the cloud and single pane of glass thing, but man, that feels like a house of cards with with a lot of potential vulnerability. Sometimes I wonder, people have been learning pretty darn successfully for thousands of years before we outsource our brains to technology. So you're not wrong. And a lot of these big, and I mean big cloud monitoring services just say, give us your admin passwords to all your stuff. So first of all, expose all your stuff to the outer internet and then give us your passwords.
And I'm on the other side of this whole thing because I just built it myself and it runs on.
That's right. That's the only way to do it. Build it yourself and leave it local.
I think that's going to be the solution, is using AI and vibe coding to build your own customized middleware for all of your stuff.
Takes a weekend.
Mark, your technology schizophrenia, we can't keep up.
I know, I'm sorry.
Seriously.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be honest.
I'm bounce back and forth.
Yes, I mean, I try to have one.
Team, Zoom.
One of you others need to go cloud now.
Team,
I'm coming back.
NFTs, AI, don't AI,
Metaverse.
Cloud, on-prem,
Cloud
tokens.
AI,
Google Meet.
Justin,
never
by the
been
way,
that crazy.
that headphone amp you mentioned has 1 port. So what's the 2 port?
No, it's the 2 port. It's the damn 2 port option. It's right there in
No,
the
you
picture.
gave us the 1 port. That's why I was questioning it.
The
Well,
AV1
NH photo's wrong then. What's the RDL?
You're not just at the manufacturer.
NH1.
Oh, we got there.
The NH2.
Good gravy.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll put it in the show notes.
It says it right there.
Getting a dedicated headphone amplifier you can use basically as a dedicated monitor for testing some of this audio stuff.
Use it
would
as
be very
tool.
useful.
No, the two is something different. That's an in and an out. That's not.
Hit the button, Chris.
All right, well, yes.
You want a headphone? Get a headphone amp that's Dante PoE. Don't matter the manufacturer; they work.
Set up your
Set up your computer as a Dante sound card.
Yeah, exactly.
Many options, but do some monitoring. All right. Back next week with more of this type of nonsense. See ya. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.